In this video, I want to do something different. We're going to go through the human body from top to bottom and talk about the most important nutrients for each major organ. So we're doing a full body tour from a nutritional point of view. That means we will talk about the brain, thyroid, skin, heart, lungs, adrenals, kidneys, liver, muscles, bones, and reproductive organs. And then I will tell you which nutrients you need to look out for optimal organ function. The reason I want to do this is because one, every organ needs specific cofactors to work correctly, some of which are deficient in many people. And two, we can often associate specific symptoms with specific nutrient deficiencies. So knowing what your organs need will help you optimize your nutrition better. During the video, I will stick mostly to vitamins, minerals, fatty acids, and similar nutrients. These are the building blocks that your body was designed to run on. I'm not saying herbs and other supplements don't work, but their effects tend to vary from person to person. Micronutrients, on the other hand, are much more universal, and we have a lot of research on which enzymes need which vitamin or mineral. So there's a lot more data to understand the biochemistry of what's going on. Also, when we will go through the list, I'll try not to repeat nutrients too much. So if something showed up before, I will try to name a different nutrient to keep things interesting. But some things, like magnesium for example, are so important that they will show up more than once. There's just no way around it. Let's kick this off with your brain. Your brain is a fatty, electrically active organ, and it needs the right ingredients to function smoothly. First, let's talk about omega-3s, especially DHA. DHA is a structural fat that makes up the membranes of your brain cells. If you don't have enough, your neurons literally cannot communicate properly. That can affect memory, focus, mood, and learning. Many people are low in DHA, especially if they don't eat fatty fish or cover their omega-3 intake through a supplement. I talk about how to buy the highest quality fish oil supplement in another video in more detail, so definitely check it out if you're thinking about getting one. Next is magnesium, which is also an absolute star for brain health. And honestly, it's hard to overstate how important this mineral really is, especially in today's world. Magnesium plays a central role in regulating neurotransmitters, especially the balance between excitatory ones like glutamate and calming ones like GABA. Glutamate speeds things up, so too much can cause your brain to feel overstimulated and anxious. GABA, on the other hand, slows things down and helps you feel calm, focused, and relaxed. Magnesium is one of the key minerals that helps keep this balance in check. Without enough magnesium, glutamate will go unchecked, and GABA doesn't do its job as well, so this can leave you feeling jittery, anxious, or like your brain won't shut off. Magnesium also boosts blood flow to the brain, supports mitochondria, and protects neurons from oxidative damage. Some studies even suggest that it helps against neurodegeneration and age-related cognitive decline. Unfortunately, many people today are at least borderline deficient in magnesium, even if their blood tests look normal. That's because only about 1% of total body magnesium is found in the blood, and most of it is inside your cells or bones. The standard Western diet is low in magnesium-rich foods because of food processing. And on top of that, stress, caffeine, alcohol, and certain medications will also deplete magnesium even further. The last brain nutrient I want to talk about is lithium. Even though it's not officially labeled as an essential nutrient, lithium has a clear role in brain health. One of the things it does is help regulate how sodium flows through your nerve cells. This matters because sodium triggers nerve activity, and lithium helps keep that activity from going into overdrive, similar to how magnesium keeps glutamate in check. That's why it's considered a natural mood stabilizer. There are even studies showing that higher levels of lithium in drinking water are linked to lower rates of depression, suicide, and Alzheimer's. So it's definitely not just some fringe supplement, and also very powerful when it comes to improving brain function. Great. Let's now move down to the thyroid, and the key players here are iodine and selenium. Your thyroid sits right at the base of your neck, just below your Adam's apple. You can actually feel it if you gently press along the front of your throat. It's butterfly shaped and wraps around your windpipe, And even though it is very small in size, it controls the speed of nearly every metabolic process in your body. When we talk about metabolism, we're not just talking about burning calories. Your thyroid affects your energy levels, body temperature, hair and skin quality, digestion, mood, and even your heart rate. And to do all of that, it relies on a delicate balance of nutrients. Like I said before, especially iodine and selenium. Let's break down how thyroid hormone is actually made and where these two nutrients fit in. First, your thyroid takes iodine from your bloodstream and uses it to create hormones. The process starts with the uptake of iodine into the thyroid cells. Inside these cells, an enzyme called thyroid peroxidase helps bind iodine to a protein structure called thyroglobulin. This process creates the two main thyroid hormones, T4 and T3. As the name suggests, T4 contains 4 iodine atoms and T3 has 3. T4 is mostly inactive, so it needs to be converted into T3, which is where selenium comes into play. Selenium is required for enzymes that remove one iodine atom from T4 to then turn it into the more active form T3. So without enough selenium, this conversion doesn't happen efficiently, and you can end up with symptoms of low thyroid function even if your T4 levels look normal on a blood test. Selenium also has a protective role. The thyroid is very metabolically active and generates a lot of free radicals while making its hormones. Selenium-containing proteins like glutathione peroxidase help neutralize these free radicals and keep the gland from getting damaged. So in short, iodine is the raw material that your thyroid uses to make hormones, and selenium is the nutrient that activates those hormones and protects the glands itself. You need both in the right amounts. Too little iodine and hormone production will slow down. Too little selenium and your body can't convert or manage the hormones properly. This balance is also why supplementing one without the other can backfire. For example, taking high doses of iodine without enough selenium can actually increase oxidative stress in the thyroid and make problems worse. So if you're supporting thyroid health, it's always best to think in pairs. By the way, fatigue, cold hands and feet, thinning hair, and dry skin are all common signs of a sluggish thyroid. So if you're experiencing these and haven't looked at iodine and selenium, then that's a good place to start. Next up is your skin, the body's largest organ and one that you see every day. Your skin is often one of the first places to show signs when something deeper is going on. Things like acne, dryness, or slow wound healing can all be indicators that your skin isn't getting the nutrients that it needs. Two of the most important ones here are vitamin A and zinc. Let's start with vitamin A. What it does is that it regulates cell turnover. As you know, your skin is constantly renewing itself. Old skin cells are shed and new ones come to the surface. Vitamin A helps make sure this process happens smoothly and at the right pace. Without enough of it, dead skin cells will build up, which can lead to clogged pores or rough patches. Vitamin A also helps your skin create and maintain a barrier function. This barrier locks in moisture and keeps out bacteria. It's part of why retinoids, which are a specific form of vitamin A, are so often used in skincare products that help reduce wrinkles and treat acne. But getting enough vitamin A from your diet is just as important because it also plays a role inside your body. When vitamin A is low, your sebaceous glands can go a little overboard, leading to oily skin and more breakouts. That's why people with acne often see a big difference when their vitamin A levels are corrected. Next, zinc, which is involved in all kinds of skin functions. The most well-known is probably that it's important for wound healing. If you're low in zinc, you will notice that cuts and scrapes take way longer to heal and are more likely to get infected. That's because zinc is needed for the enzymes that rebuild damaged tissue and for proper immune function at the skin level. It also helps reduce inflammation and acts as a natural antibacterial agent. This makes it super helpful for conditions like acne or rosacea, where inflammation and infection are almost always part of the problem. On top of that, zinc helps regulate hormone activity, which we will talk about in more detail when we get to other parts of your body. Just as a side note, if you break out from zinc supplements, that's a good sign you are copper dominant. I had this as a teenager and couldn't figure out what was going on, since zinc was supposed to be beneficial for my skin. Basically, what happened when I supplemented it was that it pushed out the excess copper in my tissue, which then led to the breakouts. Great, now on to the heart. The heart is a muscle, so it relies on electrolytes to function. But we will talk about calcium, magnesium, sodium, and potassium later in the video. So let's focus on two other nutrients instead: CoQ10 and chloride. First, CoQ10, also known as coenzyme Q10. This is a compound that your body produces naturally, and it plays a very important role in energy production at the cellular level. CoQ10 lives inside the mitochondria, so your cell's power plants, and it helps convert the food you eat into usable energy. This energy is in the form of ATP, adenosine triphosphate. Your heart muscle has a ton of mitochondria because of how much energy it needs, which means it also has a very high demand for CoQ10. Without enough of it, the heart can't produce enough energy. That will show up as fatigue, shortness of breath, or worse performance during your workouts. Low CoQ10 levels have also been linked to all kinds of heart problems like congestive heart failure and heart-related chest pain. Next is chloride. It works closely with sodium and potassium to regulate your body's fluid levels inside and outside of your cells. This fluid balance is what maintains healthy blood volume and healthy blood pressure, which is tied to how much your heart has to work to pump the blood through your body. When chloride is out of balance, you will see issues like dehydration, blood pressure problems, and even potentially fatal heart problems. On top of that, chloride is involved in the generation of electrical impulses that drive your heartbeat. Every time your heart contracts, it's because of a sequence of electrical signals that pass through heart cells. These signals depend on the movement of electrolytes, including chloride. So if it is unbalanced, those signals can become erratic, which can lead to an irregular heartbeat or other muscle problems. The next organ I want to talk about are your lungs. They are constantly exposed to the outside world: air pollutants, allergens, smoke, and even viruses. So they are the front line of defense, filtering, and processing everything that you breathe in. Because of that, they're under a lot of stress, and they need strong antioxidant support to stay healthy. Antioxidants are compounds that help neutralize free radicals, so unstable molecules that can damage your lung tissues over time. Because we will talk about vitamin C later in the video, let's focus on other antioxidants, such as vitamin E and glutathione. Vitamin E protects the delicate membranes of your lung cells and helps them stay elastic and functional, while glutathione is an all-purpose antioxidant because it protects cells all over the body, but it is especially concentrated in the lungs. Low levels of glutathione are linked to chronic lung problems like asthma and COPD. Since raising glutathione levels is a little more complicated than just taking a glutathione supplement, I have an entire video on it that you can check out if you're interested. Okay, after the lungs, let's move down a little bit to your adrenal glands. These sit right on top of your kidneys and play a huge role in how your body handles stress. When you're under pressure, whether that's from emotional stress, an intense workout, or because you need to meet a tight deadline, your adrenals release hormones like cortisol and adrenaline to help you cope. But to do that, they need fuel. One of their biggest needs is actually vitamin C. Your adrenal glands concentrate more vitamin C than almost any other tissue in the body when you account for size. It's used in the actual production of stress hormones, which is why it's so important. When you're constantly stressed or run down, you burn through vitamin C very fast, which is why low vitamin C often shows up as fatigue and poor immunity. Your adrenals also heavily rely on sodium and potassium, the two electrolytes that help balance your blood pressure. If your adrenals are struggling, you might notice that you crave salt, get lightheaded when you stand up, or feel dizzy in hot weather. That's often a sign that your body is having a hard time regulating sodium and potassium, which is done mainly through adrenal hormones like aldosterone. Just as a side note, the topic of adrenal fatigue is very controversial, and I talk about its legitimacy in a different video. Make sure to look into this if you suffer from symptoms that could be related to your adrenal function. On to the kidneys. They are like the body's filtration system. They process gallons of blood every day, help you balance fluids, get rid of waste, and also support the regulation of electrolytes, which means the nutrient cofactors here are similar to the adrenal glands. That being said, potassium is the one I want to look at for kidney health. It helps prevent calcium from building up and forming kidney stones, and it works together with sodium to maintain healthy blood pressure, like we just said. If you're low in potassium, your kidneys will have a harder time filtering everything properly, and you can end up retaining too much sodium, which then puts extra strain on the kidneys and heart. Many people don't realize that they're low in potassium, but it's actually an epidemic. Most people aren't even hitting half the recommended daily amount, and studies show that only 2% in the US reach the potassium RDA regularly. These are very concerning numbers, and again the result of too much processed food and not enough vegetables and fruit. Of course, supporting potassium isn't just about preventing kidney stones, but also to help reduce muscle cramps and keep your energy levels stable. If you aren't already, definitely look at your potassium status and work on increasing your intake through quality foods. Next is your liver. This is your body's main detoxification organ, but it does way more than what most people think. It breaks down hormones, processes medication, filters toxins, and also stores nutrients. To do all of this, it needs the right cofactors. Because we already talked about most fat-soluble vitamins, which are stored in the liver, the nutrients I want to highlight now are B vitamins and amino acids. B vitamins help run phase 1 detoxification. In phase 1, the liver changes the toxin into a more reactive form. It's sort of like tagging, so the body knows this stuff needs to go out. But here's the tricky part. After phase 1, the toxin can actually become more dangerous if it stays in the body for too long. That's where phase 2 comes into play, which is called conjugation. In phase 2, the liver adds another molecule to the toxin, which makes it more water-soluble and safe to remove. Once that has happened, the toxin will then be eliminated through your kidneys or your gut. Unlike phase 1, which again relies on mostly B vitamins, phase 2 needs amino acids because the liver can attach these amino acids to the phase 1 intermediates to neutralize them. Especially important are sulfur-containing amino acids like cysteine, methionine, and taurine. They support several phase 2 detox pathways like sulfation, glutathione conjugation, and methylation. So if you want to improve liver function and liver detoxification, definitely look at your B vitamins and amino acids. They will be your bread and butter. Onto your muscles, so the tissues that help you move, lift, run, and even breathe. Your muscles are constantly working even when you're sitting still. And to do their job, they rely very heavily on magnesium and calcium. Here's how this works. Calcium signals your muscles to contract. So when your brain tells your arm to lift or your leg to move, calcium rushes into your muscle cell and makes that contraction happen. Once the movement is done, magnesium steps in and tells the muscle to relax. Because magnesium also supports ATP production, without it, your muscles can't recruit and activate efficiently or recover afterwards. Nowadays, many people have a magnesium-calcium imbalance, where they have too much calcium and not enough magnesium. This leads to your muscles being constantly stuck in contraction mode, which shows up in symptoms like cramps, twitching, or stiffness. That's why we give magnesium to athletes who have muscle problems and muscle soreness, basically to shift that balance again. Because magnesium is involved in so many different body processes and so commonly deficient, it's one of the first supplements everyone should look into. Awesome, we are almost done with the list. The only thing left to talk about are your bones and reproductive organs. Let's start with your bones. What many people don't realize is that bones are active living tissue that is being constantly broken down and rebuilt. And for that to happen, they need a combination of nutrients that do different jobs. Because we just talked about calcium and magnesium, which are mostly stored in your bones, let's talk about vitamin D, vitamin K2, and boron. Vitamin D helps your body absorb calcium from food. Without enough of it, even a calcium-rich diet won't do much for your bones. But here's the catch. Just absorbing calcium isn't enough. You also need to make sure that it ends up in your bones and not your arteries or soft tissues. That's where vitamin K2 comes in. It activates proteins that direct calcium into your bones while keeping it out of places where it doesn't belong. Without enough K2, calcium can actually become a problem called soft tissue calcification. The most viewed video on my channel is about how to fix soft tissue calcification naturally, so it definitely seemed to have hit a nerve. Boron is another lesser known but also important mineral. It helps the body use both calcium and magnesium more efficiently and supports hormones like estrogen and testosterone, which also influence your bone strength. On top of that, there's research that links boron to reduced inflammation and joint pain. What I'm trying to say is that if you're thinking about bone health, don't just reach for a calcium pill. Calcium by itself will usually make the problem worse. Instead, think of all the cofactor nutrients that your body needs and that your bones need to use calcium correctly. Awesome, on to the last organ on my list, your reproductive organs. Because they influence all kinds of things in your body like hormone balance, fertility, or libido, there are also a lot of nutrients involved. But if I had to pick two, it would be zinc and copper. Zinc plays a role in testosterone production, sperm quality, and egg health. It's also needed for regular menstrual cycles and helps regulate enzymes involved in hormone metabolism. If you are low in zinc, you might notice things like lower libido, irregular periods, or even fertility issues. Copper, on the other hand, supports estrogen metabolism and estrogen retention. Nowadays, a lot of people, especially women, have a zinc-copper imbalance. That means too much copper that cannot be balanced by zinc. Excess copper, especially if it builds up over time, can throw off all kinds of hormones and even your mental health, because it leads to the conversion of dopamine to adrenaline. Copper toxicity is a rabbit hole in and of itself that I also have a bunch of videos on my channel that I will link. Again, a lot of hormone-related symptoms like PMS, mood swings, fatigue, or skin issues can be traced back to a zinc-copper imbalance. So getting your levels tested correctly can make a big difference. And that's pretty much it. That was our tour from head to toe. As you can see, every organ in your body relies on specific nutrients to function well. If you're dealing with symptoms like fatigue, brain fog, skin issues, or hormonal imbalances, please start by asking, am I giving my body the raw materials it needs for optimal health? Nutrition testing obviously plays a big role here, but I have to say that I'm not a big fan of most standard blood tests that are based on serum micronutrient levels. So I would recommend you look into other tests like hair analysis, which is my favorite. I will link the most important resources in the description so you can click your way through related videos that will help you understand all of this in more detail.